The United States is the only industrialized country in the world that does not have a mandatory paid maternity leave for new mothers. Many of us are going to have to, at some point in our lives, deal with this issue. Whether it's you personally or someone you know, the issue of not having a mandatory paid maternity leave will impact you in some way. The United States is a nation full of men and women who will at some point have children in their lives. It is disappointing and ridiculous that in a nation that claims to be very highly developed, we do not offer support for new mothers and fathers. The United States needs to implement a law that makes it mandatory for employers to offer their employees paid maternity leave. Today I will discuss why it is so vital for the United States to implement a mandatory paid maternity leave. First, I will discuss how paid maternity leave will increase the number of women in our workforce. Next, I will discuss how paid maternity leave can increase productivity in the workplace. And lastly, I will discuss how paid maternity leave can help families to become more economically self-sufficient and stable. Now I'm going to speak with you all about the benefits of having a paid maternity leave and what it has on families and societies. The first benefit of having a mandatory paid maternity leave is that it can increase the number of women in the workforce. So to give you some background, in 1993, the United States implemented the Family and Medical Leave Act, or the FMLA Act, which states that employees are entitled to take 12 work weeks of leave in a one-year period to attend to any family or medical emergency. Even though the FMLA Act was definitely a step in the right direction, it really hasn't worked much to change. In an academic article published by the Harvard International Review in 2017, author Christina Neckerman states that more than 2 decades later, maternity leave policy in the United States has progressed little beyond these basic requirements, and that there remains a significant role in coverage and eligibility that limit the effectiveness of the FMLA as a comprehensive policy. Even though the FMLA Act has been a help to many American families, it really hasn't done much to help new mothers. In fact, in Neckerman's article, she also states that it's estimated that only roughly half of the U.S. workers qualify for leave entitlements it provides, a figure that includes fewer than 20% of new mothers. If the United States were just to implement a mandatory paid maternity leave, more women would join the workforce, which in turn would help our economy. In an academic article published by the Center for Partnership Studies in 2015, the journal states that increasing women's labor force participation rates to equal that of their male counterparts would increase the GDP substantially. Just by having these benefits for women and their families, the United States could grow its economy, and the workforce will grow and benefit from that. Having more women in the workforce would also help with an aging workforce, meaning that the older generations of workers, as they retire and leave the workforce, women would be able to come in and fill those gaps. Now that I've shared with you some compelling facts on how paid maternity leave can increase women joining the workforce, I will now explain how paid maternity leave can help not only new mothers, but companies as well. Mandatory paid maternity leave would increase productivity in the workplace, thus increasing the amount of money a company could be making. If the United States was to implement a mandatory paid maternity leave, companies would see a boost in morale among their employees. And why is this? Because the employees would feel that their companies care about their families and their well-being. In turn, employees' productivity would be boosted, and the company could make more money as a whole. According to the Center for Partnership Studies academic journal published in 2015, both paid and unpaid leave increase productivity, but paid leave has a larger effect. And in that same journal, it goes on to say that the U.S. would see an increase in multi-factor productivity of approximately 1.1%, which doesn't seem like much, but it would definitely boost our economy and help companies. The United States could see so many advantages by having a paid maternity leave, but companies as well would see these advantages. Now that you can see how paid maternity leave can help companies thrive, I will share with you guys some facts on how paid maternity leave can help families. Having a paid maternity leave can help families become more economically sound and self-sufficient. In an article published by the New Republic in 2015, author Rebecca Traister says 88% of American women do not get paid for a single day or single day after they give birth. This means that families are only receiving money from the parent that continues to work during this time. But in some cases, like single parents, families may not be getting any sort of income during this difficult time. Families in the United States really suffer from not having paid maternity leave. Not only does it hurt a family psychologically, but it also hurts them economically. With only one parent working and earning during the new child's arrival, families are only able to be bringing in a small amount of money compared to the amount they could be making if paid maternity leave was a law in the United States. Now, because we have addressed all the benefits of having a paid maternity leave, I will now review what we have talked about in this speech. The United States is the only developed country in the world that does not require employees to provide paid maternity leave to their employees. The United States needs to pass a law that makes it mandatory for employers to offer their employees a paid maternity leave. First, I discussed with you all how having a paid maternity leave will increase the number of women in the workforce. Secondly, I spoke about the increase in productivity if employers would offer paid maternity leave to their employees. And lastly, I talked about how paid maternity leave can help families to become more economically stable and self-sufficient. According to a movie made by Fisher Kingston Ventures titled Every Mother Has a Story, the movie says that there are only 4 countries in the world with no government-mandated paid maternity leave, and the United States is one of them. If the United States doesn't do something about this issue, American women and American families will continue to suffer.